Welcome back to Hobby Universe Outdoors. I'm Len, and today we're going to be installing a brush guard on this John Deere X590 garden tractor. During the installation, I'll talk a little bit about why I've decided to install the brush guard, what some of the advantages are, and also there are a couple disadvantages that I'll talk about as well. Now, I did have a brush guard on my previous tractor, which was an X530, 2012 I think it was, and I did appreciate having that on there. So again, those are some of the things I'll talk about while we get that thing installed. It's going to go pretty quick. Let's get started.
This tractor does come from the factory with a bumper on the front, and that's going to do a really good job of protecting you against things like this tree or maybe a telephone pole. Anything at the same height as that bumper, it's going to do a good job for you. Where it's going to fall a little bit short will be if the obstruction is higher than what your bumper is. Some examples of that would be the bumper on a pickup truck or the bumper on my camper. There's actually a spot on the corner of my shed where the bumper would actually go under the corner of this shed because it's uneven ground and that back corner is raised up. So if I were to accidentally bump into that, I could damage the grill, the hood, or maybe both. Both of those items are very expensive, and I want to avoid damaging them if I can. And that's where the brush guard is going to help add that extra layer of protection, which is one of the reasons we're going to be adding it to this tractor.
So those are just a few examples of why I wanted to put the brush guard on the front of the tractor and why I liked having it on my previous tractor. And, a couple of those were fairly exaggerated, banging into that telephone pole, or even along the driveway where those branches, those smaller branches were rubbing against the front of the tractor. They're not that big, and while they're not going to crack or damage the grill severely or the hood of the tractor, they will scratch it. So just having that brush guard in the front is going to help push those out of the way a little bit and maybe protect it cosmetically, if nothing else. This is the brush guard that I'm going to be installing. I ordered it online, actually got it on Amazon. It ran me about 79 bucks at the time of this video, which I thought was a pretty good value. Now, I did look at the John Deere version as well. In many cases, I will buy an OEM part. That's just my preference a lot of the time. For this one, I just couldn't justify it. The John Deere version I looked at was anywhere from $125 all the way up to $160. And, based on the reviews for this one, it got great reviews. The pictures that it showed, it appeared to be very solidly built, which is exactly what I'm seeing so far. I just couldn't justify that extra money for an OEM part. Again, for something like this, it's not a critical component of the tractor. So I was perfectly happy with this aftermarket version. When it comes to the installation, there's really not a lot going on here. This is going to go pretty quick once we get into it. To install this brush guard, you've got these 2 bolts, 2 nuts, and then we also have these spacers. And the spacers are actually pretty cool. What they do is they allow us to tighten up this hardware so that it doesn't come loose as you're mowing. You don't want that stuff rattling loose. But you can tighten the hardware against these. But because of the way these are configured, and I'll show you what I mean by that when we put them on, it will allow this brush guard to swing up and down, getting it out of your way. And that's important, and that's something else I'll explain once we get it installed. To get the installation started, first thing we've got to do is remove the clip from this rod. Then the rod's going to slide out of the brush guard. For the model bracket that I bought, there's going to be these 3 holes. This bottom hole is where that flanged bushing is going to go. That's going to set right inside of here. And then these other 2 holes are where that rod's going to pass through. I think the trickiest part about this entire installation is just trying to get everything in place by yourself while holding it. If you had an extra set of hands, it would come in handy, probably make it a little bit easier. But if you don't, that's okay. What you have to do is you have to slide the spacer into the hole, and it's going to be on the inside of the bracket. Once you have that in there, you're going to want to line it up on the front of the bumper with the hole that is located, again, on my model towards the back of the tractor. Got to find that. There it is. And once that's up there, you just got to find a way to hold everything in place to at least get that nut started on there to keep it from falling out. So I was initially going by the instructions, and it says to get the bracket in place, install that little spacer bushing thing, and then the nut and bolt. Well, I'm struggling to get that done. Trying to get that lined up so that I can get the nut and bolt through is really proving to be a bit of a struggle. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to get that in place. I'm going to run the rod through. I think that's going to be a lot easier to do. And once that's up, then I can worry about the spacer and the nut and the bolt. Doing it this way should be a lot easier. Yep, run the rod through the top hole. There. Come over to the other side. Run it through. Install that clip and we're good. Now it's going to be a lot easier to keep this thing aligned for the hardware and not have to try to balance it and everything else. This is just going to pretty much stay where we want it. Now all we need to do is get these little spacers installed in the bracket. And that should stay in place. Run that bolt through, put the nut on the other side. Now I'm going to come back through and tighten these up with my wrenches here, but I'm going to get the other one on first. Easy peasy. All we need to do now is get that hardware tightened up, and we're going to be good to go. Good. Now that I've got that brush guard installed, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the one potential drawback to having a brush guard like that on the front of your tractor. Absolutely not a deal breaker as far as I'm concerned. It's not a huge issue, but it's something I wanted to mention nonetheless. Before I do that, I want to talk about the installation time for me to get this thing put on. All in, you know, I could probably do this inside of 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. It's not that difficult of a process to do. Now, it did take me quite a bit longer, but I'm also monkeying around making a video. So there's a lot that goes into that in the background. But honestly, if I was just doing this without the video stuff, man, I'll bet you 5-10 minutes at most, we could get that done. The one thing I did want to talk about that is a potential drawback is going to be opening the hood. When you want to open your hood, you're going to be able to get it to about there. And then the hood is going to bump into the brush guard. So this thing is now in your way. Not that big of a thing to remedy. It's pretty easy. You pull out one of these clips on that rod that passes through the brush guard. You pull the rod out. You lower it down. It actually has tabs on it to keep the thing from flopping all the way down to the ground. And now you can open up the hood all the way. Actually, now that I opened my hood, I'm looking inside of there. I've got a lot of dust. I've got some leaves and some other stuff in there. So after I'm done with this part of the video, I think I'm going to take it outside and blow all that out. But anyway, that's really it. That's the only drawback that I can see with having one of these brush guards. I'll put the rod back in, put that clip in, and that's it. We're done. So again, not a big deal. Overall, I think that little bit of extra work is well worth it when it comes to the protection you can get with the brush guard and also the appearance. You know, being completely honest, I like the way it looks. That's one of the main reasons I wanted it. I just thought it looked kind of cool on there. I like it. My tractor, I'll do what I want, right? But that's my main reason for putting it on. Now that we've got that brush guard installed, we have that extra layer of safety when it comes to protecting the front of the tractor from brush, hence the name, and things like that camper I showed earlier in the video where the bumper of the tractor could actually pass underneath the bumper of that camper. I am now protected against something like that from happening, so that makes me happy. Like I said, I like the way it looks, so that's cool. That makes me pretty happy as well. I will leave a link to this exact brush guard down in the description of this video, so if you're interested in checking one out for yourself, you'll find it there. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you got a kick out of it. If you like content like this and you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your day.